Good morning, it's March 4th. We're back in Moultrie North. Y'all might remember that we were here last week and we were looking at planning and monitoring and staging. And today we're actually going to be looking at the execution of the CMP plan. You'll see a lot of activity behind me. Guys are already here getting busy in the process. So we're going to be joined by Hogan Robinson again. We're going to jump up in a lift. We're going to talk about pollen collection and dry downs. And we're actually going to talk about the actual pollination process today. So stay tuned and we'll have a nice video for you. All right guys, so I'm here with Hogan. Hogan, thank you man for taking time.
Yes, sir.
As y'all saw when we first got going, he's got lifts and folks working everywhere and he's busy checking and bopping in, so I pulled him away for just a minute. So we wanted to take just a second to talk about pollen collection, talking about the monitoring process. So Hogan, the gentleman behind us is picking some pollen. We're still a little bit in that process. Most of the pollen's already been picked, but there's a little bit going on. So tell me what he's doing and what he's looking for.
Right, so he's out there, he's picking pollen, what little bit left we can get. I got a few examples right here. What we're looking for is good, dry, almost dry pollen to pick. The reason why we want it like this is so we can dry it down properly in the drying facility. And we don't want a lot of moisture left in the catkins.
Right.
And so right now we're just, we're getting the pristine pollen that's ready to be picked.
So once so he'll be cutting the catkins, dropping those into a bucket.
Right.
Those will go to the drying facility. Yep. How long will they take to get to the right moisture content in that facility?
About 2 or 3 days, depending on the moisture left in the pollen. Right. As long as they're dried down properly, it should only take about 48 hours or a little bit more. Once we get it down to the proper content, we can go ahead and process it and get it bottled up, put it in the freezer.
Okay. So, so how many folks do you have working out here today, and how many folks do you have in the pollen building?
Right. So we got 8 lifts working today, two people per lift, and then I got 2 people working down at the pollen building, organizing, putting the pollen up on the racks in the drying facility and processing at the same time. So there's a lot of traffic going on down there.
So your day's spent back and forth between what's going on in the orchard and then what's going on in the pollen room, and just monitoring and keeping all that. So as a company, we're obviously trying to bulk up enough seed to make sure we can meet the customer demand every year. And you're at the same time making sure we have enough pollen that's captured. So that's a huge effort that we undertake every year. So Hogan, man, thanks for your time, and appreciate the work that these guys are doing to bring us some high-end material. No, thank you. Yep. All right, so Hogan and I were talking about the pollen collection process, the dry down process. So Hogan, once the pollen reaches the correct moisture content, it'll end up getting filtered and then placed into individual bottles by family, by crawls that we're going to make, right? And so once we get the moisture content where we want it, then you'll get each person the correct pollen they need to make the crosses that we agreed on in the planning process, right? All right, so give us a little bit of what we're about to do here. We're obviously up in the lift. We've got bags here that are excluding pollen, prepared for the pollen about to give it. So what's this big tank for here?
So this is nitrogen. The reason why we use nitrogen is no moisture in it. So we don't need any moisture running through the gun, running through the pollen before it goes into the bag. We put the pollen in this bottle right here. And a lot of what I did yesterday and the day before is I staged these flowers out to pick them when they're the most receptive, ready for pollen. So these guys will come up here and they'll simply just shoot the bag, do a pop, and that's about what goes into each bag right here. So each flower can get pollinated correctly so we can have the proper amount of retention that we need to sustain our CMP program.
Yep. So every bag typically will get pollinated how many times?
Most years we do just 2. That's pretty much generic every year. Some situations call for more, some. So
why would we just do a single pollination?
Well, you have variation in flower stages at times, so we want to make sure that we're getting as much of those flowers in each bag pollinated as we possibly can. So that's why we do multiple shots.
How long in between each pollination typically?
About 2 days.
2 days.
Weather dependent. Weather dependent at the time. That's right. Rain can have a lot of function with that. You can't shoot the bags when they're wet and such. So it just depends, really. But we try to shoot for every 2 days.
And there's a set amount of pollen that's deployed each and every time that you put a trigger.
This thing is on an automatic setup where it shoots the correct amount of pollen each shot. So we can plan each year on how much to collect and what not to collect. So if this is unregulated and we pick too much pollen, we pick not enough.
pollen.
So that's why we have regulation in our gums.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
We've had a really nice time bringing you guys this two-part series where we looked at the planning, the staging, the monitoring, and today the execution of that process. You know, it's a huge undertaking for us as a company to have a genetics division that's focused on making really high-end crosses. And so when we think about the types of crosses we make, we're doing coastal by coastal and Piedmont by Piedmont, Western Gulf by Western Gulf, Piedmont by Western Gulf by coastal. And so we're always doing a litany of internal tests to make sure the material that we're looking to produce will perform at the very highest level. And so that takes a tremendous staff within IFGNS, and we couple that with our co-op responsibility. So it really is an enjoyable process to bring you, the client, the very best material we can. And so we have a full team of genetic investment advisors that span from East Texas to Oklahoma to Virginia down to South Florida. And so these guys understand the process, they understand the value of this material. And if there's ever a chance for us to serve you or at least talk to you more about this process and the end product of what you put on your land base, we'd love to do that. We always thank you for your time as you watch these videos, and thank you for watching IFCO Edge.